Hello. Uh, yes, so let's go ahead and get started with this. Uh, I want to go through the list of requirement that makes this planning file or this this Excel-based planning file works. Right. So initially, the first one is inventory raw materials, ingredients, packed material. Basically, this is the first rule or the first requirement is to be able to track the inventory of finished goods. Now, the second one is the lead time from each vendor or suppliers for each material. So this is accounting for every material has unique lead time based on vendor, right? So even though if you have one vendor, different materials, you can have multiple lead time. That's the assumption. Now, the third one is to measure the current stock level. Um, that one is more on accounting for the current stock level, which is done manually. And then the fourth one is link the order alert sales forecast. And we're going to go through that. And then the fifth one is set alerts for every raw materials and threshold quantities. Six will be link numbers of raw materials and finished goods product. So the sixth one is more on the calculations that tells the user or that enables the user to see or have a visibility on um, what are the shortages on the raw materials or components based on the calculated BOM, the bill of materials for finished goods. And then, of course, the number seven is just as the as needed um, features as necessary, right? So that's mainly on the materials open PO, the finished goods sales, or the finished goods inventory, and then the materials inventory. Those are mainly our um, hard inputs. There's no calculation on those, and we're gonna go through that. So the number seven one you're gonna see is that these are the green tabs, right? The green tabs are all with the hard manual input, and then the gray tabs, which is the materials requirement, the BOM, and then the FG forecast, which stands for finished goods forecasts, are calculated fields, but it does have some manual input that are highlighted in blue. So anything, keep in mind when you're using this file, anything that's highlighted in blue, you can touch. Anything that's not highlighted in blue and it's highlighted in something else, you should not touch it other than extending it, but you should not delete or change any conditions to the calculations. So let's start off with the materials requirement. That's the first tab here. Let me just get this thing out of the way. So again, as I mentioned to you, and this is the same principle that goes on the other tabs as well, is that the blue text you can manipulate or add. Manipulate means you can edit, should you find it necessary to edit, right? Or you can add here to the very bottom or to the very top or in the middle. You can do that and it's just going to automatically calculate and pick it up. Now, one thing that I do want to let you know when you're using this file is on your raw materials, maintain a product description or SKU. Uh, yeah, let me take that back. The product, one product cannot have, I repeat, one product cannot have multiple description or SKU, right? So the reason why that's done is because you can't have you can have box and boxes that's referring to the same item. Now, there is another way to this. Is Another method is that you could potentially create different SKU for the same item if it's sourced from different vendors, right? So, for example, if you have a box that has two different sizes, one goes to one finished goods and the other one goes to the other finished goods. Now you can name those and provide a different name or different code or different SKU, and you can assign to the vendor. And we're gonna go through that here. Anyway, so the bomb works by having the finished goods initially in the first column here, and then listing the list of items, right? Listing the list of items that you require to create one finished goods, and then you calculate the ingredients, like how much you're needing for sugar, how much for hazelnut, how much for whey, etc., etc. So that's that, and you can enter these manually. Well, you have to enter this manually. It has to be maintained manually. Um, and then here, if you see it to the right, what this is that it takes these are the calculations of raw materials required to create or cover or sustain the requirement for a finished goods. So that's already broken down in the sheet. So in the finished goods forecast takes or is calculated. I want to mention the forecast first, which you can see here, highlighted in blue. It says forecast. So the forecast is calculated based on moving average on the historical sales, right? 15-day sales, or I'm sorry, 5-day sales. So for this one, today's the 14th, and it takes the average of the last 5 days, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That gives us the 72.43, which you see here. Now, another functionality of this is that if you have a sales forecast or actual sales in the past, and you have a not a sales forecast but an actual sales that requires to be delivered, I can show you that here. So if you have an actual sales that required to be delivered in the future, right? So let me just take this number out. Keep that date in mind, February the 20th. So let's see what the February the 20th looks like. It says 98.41. Now, I do like to add, for just to show you an example, just I like to give big numbers to make it a lot more obvious. So right now we added 50,000 kilograms to be delivered or to be created on the 20th. So now the the 50,000 is added on top of that initial calculation. The reason why we do this, or the reason why the sheet is done like this way, is to account for what's up and coming in the future, right? So you already know your demand as just based on your actual sales, but you also have to take out or consider the the um, the sales that may end up being higher than what you're actually forecasting. So with that, it's just right now the simple calculation is just to add it on top of what you already forecasted, right? So that this forecast is a little bit inflated. Now we could assume it says if the there's already a forecast of, let's say, 40,000, right, out in the future for the 20th, and then you have a client that says, I want this item delivered or delivered in X amount of date, which tells you that you need to create this item on the 20th of February for 50,000, right? We could always just maintain the higher number between the two, but at the moment, I do want to get your feedback on that one, how you want to use that, right? So right now, it's calculated plus. It's more on this is your forecast plus your projected sales. Now, additionally, on the other columns, like for example, the default unit is taken from the finished goods info. The lead time is taken from the finished goods info tab as well. Now, let's talk about the demand column in column H. The demand column is basically saying out in 5 days. So if you have a 5 day production on your finished goods, so this Ferrero has 5 day production lead time. The second one, the cheesecake cream spread, has a 10 day lead time, right? So what this is telling you basically is going to say what is the demand in the next 5 days plus one, right? It's always going to be plus one. 5 days plus one. So it tells you how many. So with that being said, from the 14th, see here, there you go, 14th to the 19th. You see that here from the 14th to the 19th. You see that here is 56,499, and that's the same value as you can see here.